Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our special council meeting of Wednesday, July 31st. Dean, call to order, please.
Mover and a seconder, please.
Keith and Al.
Moved by Reeve Watt, second by Councillor Wren, that the special council meeting of July 31st, 2024 be called to order at 5:30 p.m.
All in favor? Carried. Roll call.
Mayor Bennett.
Present.
Reeve Watt.
Present.
Councillor Gauthier.
Present.
Councillor Hewitt.
Present.
Councillor Hughley.
Present.
Councillor King.
Present.
Councillor Wren.
Present.
All members present.
Thank you. Declaration of carrying interest and general nature thereof. Seeing none. Delegations. Darcy, please.
Agenda approval, you missed that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on.
Oh, you can come up anyway.
Yeah, come on up. We'll do it after. We'll do a confirmation of agenda.
Yeah.
Need
Mover
a
and seconder.
motion? Wendy and Brian.
Moved by Councillor Hewitt, second by Councillor Hughley, that the agenda of the special council meeting of July 31st, 2024 be approved as presented.
All in favor? Carried. Welcome, Darcy.
Well, hey, thanks for having me.
Welcome to the
Get
Jack
you to push the
Wilson.
button there, Darcy, on the microphone.
Okay, wow.
Not that we can't hear you, but the public can
I'll
on
make sure you can hear me.
Okay, there.
there.
Welcome to the Jack Wilson Chambers.
Thank you very much.
Push the button again.
Yeah, just leave it on.
Push it on.
Yeah.
There.
There we go. Okay, Darcy, we are we have your letter from you and Lindsay from Laurentian Valley Grains. And how about I let you start off?
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, I'm assuming most people read the letter. We had this idea. We've had this idea for a couple of years now. Sort of in conversation with all of our kids at the rinks and all the people in the community, and you know, it just sort of started with some spitballing and. You know, and it just, every time I talk to a different person, whether it be Pembroke Minor Hockey or any rec association or the pool people or anything like that, it kept, like, I never got a negative or never got a downside to it. And, you know, it just built itself up to where I said, well, we better put some pen to paper and see if there's any appetite for it kind of thing. And, like, here we are, you know, like, Laurentian Valley is growing really, really well. And there's a lot of facilities in the city of Pembroke that are like amazing facilities. Like, you know, I spent my whole life there. Don't really want to see them go, but maybe the writing's on the wall on some of them, you know what I mean? So I think it just, as a community, we need to come up with a plan for replacements, you know, and maybe we should share in that task with Pembroke, you know.
Al?
So I know council have read your letter, but a lot of the public haven't. So why don't you tell everybody what it is you're actually offering to this area?
Okay. Oh yeah, sure. Okay. Absolutely. Thanks, Alan. So yeah, like, for everybody, we've proposed, we own some land. We're lucky enough to own some land behind Home Depot. There's a large chunk, 129 acres approximately. So, that's one of the most accessible sites with water and sewer and all the amenities that it needs there. We proposed, 5, 7, or even 10 acres, of land to be able to, facilitate a new recreation complex. It's very, very informal, the drawing. It's, you know, the idea was 2 twin pads of ice, an indoor recreation area, whether it be, you know, soccer, indoor football, whatever, just something like that. And then like the pool would be, you know, one of the options too, like a giant complex, you know. And I've been at enough facilities that my one of my only adamant requests is that there's lots of parking. So I made sure they put like double the normal parking. So like, if it takes more land, you know, maybe we can talk about that as well. But yeah, one giant new state-of-the-art complex, you know. It would solve a lot of needs, and it could be something, you know, like the Waste Recovery Center, it's kind of like a gem. It's a huge facility, and it's a really beacon in our facility, and this could be something similar.
Thanks, Darcy. I know you and I have chatted about this before, and on our agenda tonight actually is a letter from the City of Pembroke asking us to start a committee to look at a regional facility. So this certainly ties right in with it, as I've explained to you. My hope is that this committee gets started with outside people of various communities, whether it's Pembroke, Laurentian Valley, possibly Eganville, Cobden, Petawawa, and put a group together and look at a long-range regional facility. And that's my thought as well, after speaking with you and with council. So we're hoping we're going to draw from your offer, you and Lindsay, and get this committee started. It's going to take some time. Nothing that we want to jump into. We want to make sure that we find out what all of our taxpayers want and need, and then go from there and put a plan together. And maybe it's 10 years from now, but it needs to start now to get the fundraising, etc. So absolutely, on behalf of council, thank you very much for the opportunity of this land. I'm going to open up for council members. If you have any questions for Darcy, please go ahead, Al.
Not a question, but a comment, and it's thanks very much for making that offer, and to be honest with you, I think it could be the spark that actually starts something. We don't have to look very far. In Whitewater, Beachburg had a bit of an issue with a rink down there, and some of the local business people got together and made that vision come true. So I'm thinking this could be the spark for the next one in this community. So thank you very much.
You're more than welcome, Alan. And like, that's exactly, like me and Steve had talked kind of in passing here and there. You know, like what Beachburg did was amazing, how the volunteers in the community came along. You know, unfortunately, there's a lot of those facilities that, you know, you don't know where they're going to be in 5 years or 10 years time. I mean, obviously, if there was unlimited funds for all of them, you'd hope they all kept running, but sometimes that's not the option. So what are our options? And the option might be something like this, you know, a more centralized place, and, you know, then at least nobody's left out, you know what I mean? So.
And that's the whole idea, is to make sure that every rock is unturned and every idea is given a chance, so we can determine what is going to happen in our area. So I have a great vision, and getting your letter kind of works right along with it, with council, and I hope that maybe a year or 6 months or 3 months, we can talk to you again and say, hey, this is where we're going, and we go from there.
Yeah, I'm beyond excited. I mean, I've been talking about this for a long time with a lot of people, and this could be it could be with the right planning and the right people involved and the right committees. It could check a lot of boxes off of as to what we need, possibly Pembroke, you know, all the surrounding municipalities too. Like, you know, yeah, I think it's needed, and I think most people share that same opinion. So.
And it has to be a regional facility, because no one municipality can take on a project like this, so.
Absolutely, like what you guys have seen firsthand, just the cost of a pool facility, like alone is almost, even for our community in Pembroke, with the size and the tax base, that's still like, you know, yeah, almost absurd. So with something like this being of this magnitude, it seems very daunting and very large. But also with that scale, it also becomes more economical, being a larger facility just for operational, you know, like even like something like the Zamboni, you have one Zamboni that does 2 ice pads, right? Well, you're cutting costs there and certain things like that, so.
Okay, if nothing else from council, thank you very much.
More than welcome.
And you'll get a letter from.
Yeah, we'll be in touch for sure.
Yeah.
Once we get it.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks, Darcy.
Lindsay's gonna get here too late.
She can come and talk too, sure. Okay, we're gonna go down to planning, motion to open up public planning meeting, Patty and Jennifer.
Moved by Counselor King, second by Counselor Gauthier, that the Council of Township of Laurentian Valley pursuant to Section 34 of the Planning Act hereby declare a public meeting open at 5:30 PM to discuss zoning bylaw amendment Z 2024-06 Kobelecki, Z zoning bylaw file number 2024-07 Cleach Outdoor Furnace, zoning bylaw amendment file number Z 2021-05 Webster.
All in favor? Carried. Okay, Laurie, first item, zoning bylaw amendment Z 2024-06, Kobelecki.
Okay, yes, so we do have 3 items on tonight. So with the first application, it's being Z file 2024-06. Again, notice was issued in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act, and that was sent out on July the 11th. And the description and notice form of the amendment, it was a combined notice of application as well as notice of this public meeting. And the purpose and the effect of the amendment would be to permit the conversion of an existing 5-unit multi-residential building to a maximum 8-unit dwelling building with a minimum dwelling unit area for 2 of the bachelor units to be permitted to be 44 square meters. The current minimum is 45 square meters. So the effect of the amendment is to amend the residential 3 exception 1 R3E1 zone with an exception that would permit a maximum of 8 dwelling units, recognizing the existing performance standards for the footprint of the building location relative to lot lines, permitting 2 bachelor units to have a minimum dwelling unit area of 44 square meters, and requiring a minimum of 8 parking spaces. So the subject lands are located at the corner of Stafford Street and 3rd Avenue South on lands known municipally as 645 Stafford Street in Lot 290, Plan 366, within Part Lot 33, Concession 1, in the geographic Township of Stafford. So again, copies of all of the information related to this application are available for inspection at the Township office. And again, any person may participate in this public meeting and make written or representation either in support of or opposition to the amendment. And again, this must be made prior to council making a decision. And if you wish to be notified of the decision of the Township Council, then you must also make a written request or sign in. For anybody who's present here tonight, they may sign in on one of the sign-in sheets. We do have those available for all 3 of the applications, and they're just at the side desk to the rear of my, where I'm pointing with my right hand. And again, the Planning Act has changed, so there are limitations on who may appeal, but anybody that is within that that framework, again, must make those comments prior to the decision being made. And again, just as that reminder for members of the public, that is fairly limited to the applicant and other public bodies and specified agents. But again, your comments and participation is encouraged and will be considered as part of the decision-making process.
Okay. Any questions of council or comments? Keith?
The size is pretty small. Is parking an issue at all with the number of units on that property?
Okay, so in terms of the, what we looked at in discussions with the Public Works Manager, we did look at the site and where the traditional history of parking is on the site. And there would be some adjustments to pull a couple of spaces in a little bit further. But generally speaking, they would be the existing parking patterns. There would be a minimum requirement of the 1 parking space per unit. There is that recognition, as with all multi-residential, as changes happen now with how occupancy or residency is with the smaller units. There may be people that don't require a parking space, and that there may be those limitations. Again, in terms of accommodating on site, the other thing is stacked parking is also that possibility. So tenants, they have to make that arrangement to let each other out if that is part of that. So, again, we have taken a look at the site with the Public Works Manager, and there is a bit of a legacy of how that parking evolved.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Open up to the public. Do we have anybody online for this one?
I don't believe that there's anybody online for this application. However, should there be somebody online, they may press star 9 if they're on a telephone connection through Zoom to ask to be unmuted so that they can speak, or if they're on a computer Zoom platform, if they raise their hand signal, and then our deputy clerk would also acknowledge that you would want to be unmuted.
In
Okay,
the
so-
meantime, is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak? No, seeing none. Dean?
Mover and seconder, please.
Jennifer and Alan?
Moved by Counselor Gauthier, second by Counselor Wren, that the council in committee approves application for zoning bylaw amendment file number Z 2024-06, Kobelecki, and recommends that council forward bylaw number 2024-07-043 as presented to the bylaw portion of the special council meeting of July 31st, 2024 for enactment.
All in favor? Carried. So our second report is zoning bylaw amendment Z 2024-07, Cleach Outdoor Furnace. Laurie?
Yes, so our second application that's before us tonight, again, it was also mailed out on the 11th of July and was circulated in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act. And again, this was also a combined notice of application with the notice of public meeting. Again, all of the information that's required under the Planning Act is available for viewing at the council and township office. The purpose and effect of this application, Z 2024-07, is to permit the construction, installation of an outdoor furnace in a location on a property with reduced setbacks from the general provisions in the zoning bylaw. Due to the shape of the property, it's not possible to meet the minimum side yard setback of 50 meters to a lot line on both sides. And due to the location of an existing dwelling on an abutting property, it is not possible to meet the minimum rear yard setback and the 100-meter setback from the dwelling on another lot without a reduced setback, as well as the necessity for a lesser reduced setback from the dwelling. So the effect of the amendment would establish a rural exception 91 zone with a special provision to permit an outdoor furnace to be located a minimum setback of 39 meters from the rear lot line, 22 meters from the western side lot line, and a minimum of 90 meters from the existing dwelling located on an abutting property known municipally as 1604 Sandy Beach Road. So the subject lands would also be rezoned from rural to rural exception 91. And again, the lands affected by this amendment are 1590 Sandy Beach Road on lands described as Part 1 on Plan 49R 19599 in Part Lot 18, Concession 9, Geographic Township of Alice. And as stated before, all the material is available for inspection at the township office should anybody wish to view that. And again, we would encourage anybody who has any comments, either supportive or opposition to, that they would make those comments prior to council making a decision. And as with before, the Planning Act rules have changed, so it is limited abilities for appeal, but again, all comments are considered as part of the decision-making process. And again, anybody who does make this applies to all through here tonight, that any comments that are made as part of this process, it is a public process, so again, you're consenting to the use of your name, address, email, to be part of the public record and disclosed as required by the township through the process. So we did not receive any written comments on this application. I did have a conversation with the property owner of the dwelling where the setback would be reduced to, and they were satisfied with the confirming again that the prevailing winds are in the direction away from their house, that it is just a reduction from 100 meters to 90 meters, and also the proposed stack is to be higher as well on the style of the outdoor furnace. So, it's fairly confident that this won't create an additional nuisance to that house by reducing that setback.
Okay, questions, comments, council? Seeing none, the only concern I had was the neighbor, and that's already been addressed, so. Anything from the public? Anybody online or in person? No? Okay, Dean,
Motion, please.
Betty, and Keith?
Moved by Counselor King, second by Reeve Watt, that the council and committee approves the application for zoning bylaw amendment, file number Z 2024-07, Cleach Outdoor Furnace, and recommends that council forward bylaw 2024-07-044 as presented to the bylaw portion of the special council meeting of July 31st, 2024 for enactment.
All in favor? Carried. So our third report is zoning bylaw Z 2021-05 Webster. Laurie, I'll turn that over to you.
Okay, so our third application that's before council tonight is a file that's returning for a decision. So there have been 2 previous public meetings held with this application, and it's being brought back with a slight modification in terms of the recommendations related to holding symbol. But I will follow up with a little bit of a description of that to just follow up with this notice was issued again as a combined notice for this meeting with the application and the public meeting. And the purpose of the amendment, and it's Z file 2021-05, is to allow a bed and breakfast establishment as part of an existing single detached dwelling. It is noted for reference purposes that the definition for bed and breakfast establishment means an owner-occupied single detached dwelling or portion thereof in which there are no more than 3 guest rooms used or maintained for hire or gain on a temporary or day-to-day basis as accommodation with or without meals for other persons, particularly tourists or vacationers. This definition doesn't include motel, hotel, apartment, dwelling house, boarding house, rooming house, restaurant, or any other establishment defined in this bylaw. So that is the existing definition within the township zoning bylaw, just for clarity. So then the effect of the amendment is to establish a limited service residential exception 3 zone with a special provision that adds a bed and breakfast establishment as a permitted use on the subject property, and also to rezone the property from limited service residential to limited service residential exception 3. Again, in the notice, it was also noted for the people circulated the notice that it was the same application that was discussed at the 2 previous public meetings, where a decision was not initially made as additional information was requested by council, and then the applicant had also requested opportunity to further review the proposal. So the applicant had since requested that the original application as filed remain as the amendment to be considered, and therefore this application is being brought forward for consideration for a decision. Any comments that were previously submitted will be included and were included as part of the information council is considering as, so it did not need to be resubmitted where the comments remained the same. So the lands affected by the amendment are located at 1227 Burns Drive within Part Lot 18, Concession 2, FAL, which is fronting on Allumette Lake, and in the geographic township of Pembroke. Again, copies of all the materials related to this application were available for inspection at the township office. And again, anybody who has comments in opposition or support of the application was encouraged to provide those in writing and or can make verbal comments prior to council making a decision. And again, all matters form part of the public record. So I just will provide also a bit of an update to council because there were some additional emails and information that did come in either late last night or through today. And I have actually printed those and provided them to council. And what that is we did have 3 letters of support, one from the previous property owners, the McBrides, for the bed and breakfast, and then we had 2 other emails from other acquaintances of the property owner, again supporting the application, which do not appear to reside right in that area, but they're providing support for the nature of the rezoning, and so council has those for their review. So the other matter that we do have that came in this afternoon, late this afternoon, we had originally, with the information packages circulated to council, the applicant had provided a letter from Glenn Price, his solicitor, which was related to the confirming that the right-of-way could be used for the proposed use of a bed and breakfast, and also confirming that there was a right-of-way for access. Based on some additional comments that were put in by other neighbors, just abundance of caution and discussion with the township solicitor, it was determined that if the application was to move forward, that one of the conditions if it, was attached to a holding symbol, would be that a certification letter from a solicitor be provided that certified that the right-of-way did provide that this property would be connected to a township road via those right-of-ways. And it just that it wasn't the clarity of the language in Mr. Price's letters didn't quite go far enough. Unfortunately, as Mr. Price had retired, it wasn't as simple as clarifying those terms with him. So Mr. Webster did retain the services of another solicitor, Mr. Brian Pipe, and he did provide a letter today that, in his opinion, has certified that there's clear easements on title to access. And so council does have a copy of that correspondence in front of them. I did circulate that to the township solicitor, who had indicated that he would feel that that would be satisfactory for that condition, but I'll just sort of touch point on that after. It doesn't mean that we don't have, should council still wish to move forward, if they were to pass this bylaw tonight, subject to the recommendation of the use of a holding symbol, that still would be looked at as one of the conditions to clear. It's just to provide council with that information that it appears that we may have that documentation now. So the other recommendation point for using the holding symbol and to deal with a condition is also that it be a site plan agreement tool applied, which would allow for ensuring where the location is on the property of the parking and where any outdoor storage, so that some of the concerns that were also brought forward was that there could be a situation where the entire front of the property could become a parking lot and no green space left. So the site plan tool does allow us to, enter into that agreement that shows the location of where those facilities are on the property. You'll note in my report I had indicated that there was a time period most recently where the province had changed when we have residential uses on a property where and when we can use site plan control. So we weren't able to use that for a short period of time in certain areas, but because this is within the proximity of the Ottawa River, it falls within the distance to a water body that we're again allowed to use that site plan control tool. So that's why that recommendation is there as the second condition to clear for the holding symbol. So the holding symbol, when it's used, would allow council to establish that if they're supportive of that principle of development, but the holding symbol conditions would have to be met and the holding symbol removed before a change of use building permit would be able to be issued and for the use to be able to be started to be operated.
Okay, thanks, Laurie. So we're going to open up to the public, online as well as in person. I just encourage folks that, council has received all the information back from 2021, as well any new information received this year on this application. So I do encourage anybody that wishes to speak to bring something up new. So we'll move forward to, is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak to this application? Okay, seeing none. Do we have anybody online, Laurie?
Okay, do they have raised hand? Okay.
Okay, so we have someone coming online. Please state your name and address before you start. Go ahead.
I'm not sure why my video is not working, but it's Brian Pipe. I'm the lawyer that did the certification this afternoon. My family's lived in Pembroke for almost 75 years. I'm just practicing down in Norfolk. If you had any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Okay, it's going to be a little difficult for council to be asking some questions tonight as we just received this upon arrival. So council hasn't really had a chance to read it over. We may have some questions in a couple of days after council's had time to look at it. But thank you for coming online, Brian, and we'll just keep you on there in case something else comes up. Unless council has a question for Mr. Pipe right now. Okay. Alan?
I have a question actually for Laurie. So you said this does provide what we need for certification that there's access across the road, or we have to dig into it further?
So in consultation with Sheldon Reiki, the township solicitor, who did review this today, he said that he was satisfied, and he has reviewed the materials leading up to this as well, the materials from Glen Price, the materials provided by the other property owners, as well as this certification, and that it was, to his opinion, it was going to satisfy.
Okay, so maybe just to clear the air, as I had asked Laurie before, from Sheldon's original comments on this, which we asked him for, having access to any of the properties down there is a civil matter, as it is not a municipal road. So as I told a couple of taxpayers that asked the question, then you need to get your own interpretation as to how the deed access applies. So in this case, the applicant has gone to his lawyer and got it. We still need to keep the H on there, the holding symbol, just in case some other information comes forward to council in the coming weeks or whenever. Alan?
Yeah, I would agree with that, Steve, about people having access across it, but all the municipality needs is that there's access to that property to a municipal road. The rest of it, like you say, is a civil matter. All we're worried about is if there's access from a municipal road to that property, unobstructed for anybody to access it. Correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Any matters related to maintenance or share of costs or that type of thing are the civil matter between the parties.
Keith?
Thank you. In listening to Laurie, was there not a second reason for a site plan keep that holding symbol on? Parking, for parking?
Yeah, so the two conditions that would be recommended for removal of the holding symbol, one is the certification letter, and the second is the entering into the site plan agreement that would set out where the parking and area is. Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, we'll go to, is there anything else online for comments or questions? Do we know of?
The deputy clerk is advising that there is one other person, but they have not raised their hand, so I guess this would be the opportunity, if you do wish to make any comment, to raise your hand, or we will move beyond. Okay, the deputy clerk is indicating that they have not raised their hand.
Okay. Okay, so there's nobody from the public here. I do have two questions for Mr. Webster, and if you don't mind, you can or cannot answer these questions. Everybody, I understand, contributes to Burns Drive as far as road maintenance. When there's multiple residents on a property, does that mean that, say, yourself pays more towards the road, or does it go by residents? You'll have to come up and speak on the mic if you don't mind.
Is it turned on? Yeah. Okay, Mayor. Excuse me. I've lived here at 1227 since 2002, and we're on our fourth person that volunteers to collect maintenance fees for the road, which is gravel, grading, and snow removal. It has always been split equal, regardless of the size of the lot, regardless of how many people lived in there. It was just based on $50 or $75. Now it's up to $150 per property. So I've only been contributing.
Your house? Yep.
Yeah, and in fact, 2 years ago, I over-contributed because I know since 2021, various neighbors have indicated that there's more wear and tear, which I can argue that it's not, because some families, like my sister, they have 4 cars in their driveway with 3 kids, and anyway, I've over-contributed 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, based on And I did an assessment from NPAC. I looked at all of the, I'm an engineer, so I looked at all the properties and I looked at the square footage and I said, okay, I'll over contribute, and I did. And in fact, I have another rental unit next door, and I with 2 driveways, and there's only one person that drives on the property, but I contributed twice. I contributed $300 last year. Anyway, to answer your question is I have looked into this, and I think it's fair and reasonable.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
You had a second question?
Kind of answered it. My only question is that I know along Burns Drive, there is property owned by the county.
Yes.
But when you're counting your parking spots, you're only counting the parking spots at your address that you're renting out, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And I did provide...
Not the next house or not, okay.
No.
Okay, that's it. Thank you. Okay, any further questions? Betty?
And again, I'm new to this situation as being a new counselor, and I'm not sure if it's a responsibility even of the township. But going through the letters, it was talking about that that road is not insured for commercial use. Is that going to impact the use of this B&B? If there's other people or people renting, using the road, or is that just the same as somebody going down to visit?
Because it's a private road, we don't have that concern. It's up to the landowner to have that. It's a unique situation because it's a private road, for sure.
Excuse me, can I say something?
Yeah, just state your name and address when you come up, please.
Philip de Graaf, I'm at 1219 Burns Drive. Burns Drive is defined in most people's minds as a private road. It is in fact not a uniform private road owned by everybody, but each household owns that 20-foot wide right of way in front of their house, and in theory has the maintenance, etc. for that. Wendy and my own house insurance acknowledges the fact there's a right of way, and we do have, some insurance, in fact, if something horrific was to happen, which is the concern. The other thing is, being down closer than we are to Drive-In Road, the municipal road that everybody is concerned about, versus Dairy Road, which is a private right of way for a lot of the houses up the other end of Drive-In, of Burns Drive that way. The wear and tear at our end, because of all of the, purulators and everything else dropping up, our end gets the worst part, and we end up having to do a little bit of remuneration, repatriation, let's say, ourselves, just during the course of the year, because the potholes get a little bit vicious, in terms of that. The other thing I'd like to clarify is that Burns Drive, although my wife's family is the Burns, they own the dairy, Burns, Pleasant View Dairy, over towards where you live, Mayor, the farm and everything else like this, and there were a couple of properties on Burns Drive that they owned. Burns Drive actually came about because the then postmaster of the city of Pembroke, Larry Fisher, was faced with a situation that cottages were turning into houses, and it was now mail route, and there was no mail address. So it was Larry Fisher, actually the postmaster of Pembroke, that came up and said, you know what, let's call it Burns Drive, relative to the family that, had the dairy and everything else like that. Just a bit of clarification, because I know there's a letter going around saying that Robert Burns, my wife's grandfather, had all the property down there and segregated all the lots. That's not the case. There was only like 2 small lots. Otherwise, we'd be driving a Cadillac, I can assure you. Okay, anyway, I just wanted to clarify that piece of information, okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything else of council? Can we get a motion, please?
Okay, we need a mover and seconder.
Alan? Keith?
Moved by Councilor Wren, second by Reeve Watt, that council approve application for zoning bylaw amendment file number Z 2021 05 Webster and Forward Bylaw 2024-07-045 as presented to the bylaw portion of the July 31st, 2024 special council meeting, subject to a holding symbol with conditions for removal of the holding symbol being certification from a solicitor that clearly states that the Webster property at 1227 Burns Drive has uninterrupted deeded road access to the municipal road, and B, that the site plan agreement be entered into with the township showing the location of the parking area.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Sorry, do that again for me. All in favor? Okay, carried.
Okay. Adjournment.
Adjourn of the planning meeting, please.
Mover and seconder.
Jennifer and Wendy.
Moved by Councillor Gauthier, second by Councillor Hewitt, that the Council of the Township of Laurentian Valley hereby declare the public meeting of July 31st, 2024 be adjourned at 6:12 p.m.
All in favor? Carried. Okay, what information, Pembroke area Airport letter of June 18th? I'll comment on it, Alan. It's
Well,
just-
what it is our budget, and then it gives the apportionment of each municipality, which is based on assessment. What it is the budget for the Pembroke Area Airport Commission, and it also an apportionment for each municipality on what their share ownership is, and also then their percentage total of the fee to the airport, and then the bill to Sean.
Okay, any
But
questions?
the budget
Alan?
is there. If anybody has any questions on the budget, I can try to answer them.
Brian?
My question was, employee benefits were twice the budgeted amount last year, and
So I think I brought this to council before, that we were having major issues getting staff at the airport. Last year, we were finally able to pull some staff in, so we were budgeting based on what it was previous years. We managed to get staff. It's a cost of doing business.
and second question, advertising and promotion is double. What big campaign have you got going?
Well, we have the big push on still for the buy a foot of runway. So we're really pushing on that. And our marketing contract was renewed at the new level. It hadn't been renewed since, I believe, the last time it was changed was like 2016. So it brought it up into where it should be today.
Okay, again, that's just for information. Report motion for 2024 fall meeting dates? No, sorry, on the page here. Report motion, contract expansion, Dean?
Okay, with the help of the deputy clerk, we've kind of realized that the current OSPCA agreement that we have is to expire on June 30th, 2025 of ending June, no, 2024, right? Or is it 24, sorry. Yeah, it does, yeah, that's my mistake there. So, one thing, under the contract, under section 2, we can extend the current contract for 2 one-year extensions. We have extended one officially, I think we've done one, correct, Laurie? This is our second one. We're asking to continue with the service based on the same terms and compensation that we had, and I believe OSPCA has agreed to that, if council so chooses to enable that.
Questions to council, Alan?
There actually is no alternative.
Well, no, there's not. Well, we haven't explored it, but no, I don't know where we'd go, to be honest, yeah.
If we were to make a modification to our budget, would that be possible?
Well, I don't think at this point we would have to reopen it. It's basically they're setting their terms, we have to agree to their terms,
Yeah.
and we have to agree to their terms, they have to agree to ours. So if we start changing ours, asking, then they're probably gonna wanna open theirs, so.
And that's just the
Yeah.
collection of, if something ever comes up. Okay, we'll leave it as it is.
So we need a
Get a
motion.
motion? Or Keith, go ahead.
Do we get statistics on the number of animals and for number of days that they're stayed or they stay there?
Well, we got a monthly report. I don't know if it's ever been summarized. I mean, the animal control officer does state in his report that they've been transferred to the OSPCA.
Right.
But I don't know if we've ever summarized. Annually, we may get a report at the end of the year. I'm not sure if we do. We could certainly request that to say, maybe, I don't know if council's after it like once a year or semi-annually to say, here's how many dogs and how many cats we've housed in the last 6 months or last year. We could certainly do that as
Right,
council.
and I'm looking to see how many are euthanized, how many are returned to the owners, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Or is that asking too much?
No, I think, I'm sure they keep the statistics. I don't think and we do get them kind of in bits and pieces through the actual animal control report we get monthly, but summarizing just that, it might be a good value. We can ask for that for sure.
Be interesting for sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
Motion?
motion. Brian and Jennifer?
Moved by Councillor Yulee, second by Councillor Goche, that the council agree to a one-year extension of services for the 24-25 year ending June 30th, 2025, as permitted under Section 2 of the contract dated March 17th, 2020.
All in favor? Carried. Fall meeting dates.
Upon review, we were just looking at the dates, and because of September being I'll call it a 5 Tuesday month, and the first one being very early on September 3rd, which is right after the long weekend, there was a thought process that maybe we could reschedule that, and it just seemed to tumble from there because of that month being where it is. So what we're suggesting are the September and October meetings be postponed basically a week further. So the council and committee meeting would now be September 10th, the regular council meeting would be September 24th, the council and committee meeting of October be October 8th, and the regular council meeting be October 22nd. With that, we are leaving ourselves, I know going to September the 10th is a long ways from today, so we're kind of considering, depending how the rest of the summer progresses, that we possibly might have a meeting on August 28th, so we're kind of asking you to keep that one. We'll confirm that one as we get closer, but the request is to make those changes just because of the balancing of the month of September being 5 months and September 3rd, like I said, being right after the long weekend in September. So that's kind of the request or the suggestion, and up to council to decide.
Comments? Questions?
That's another discussion for another day. Mover and a seconder.
Yeah. Betty and Brian.
Moved by Councillor King, second by Councillor Yulee, that the council and committees, or the council agrees that the following scheduled meetings be rescheduled. Council and committees meeting September 3rd, 2024, regular council meeting of September 17th, 2024, regular council meeting of October 1st, 2024, and regular council meeting of October 15th, 24, and further that the council approve the following meeting dates and times: council and committee meeting of September 10th, 2024, regular council meeting of September 24th, 2024, council and committee meeting of October 8th, 2024, and regular council meeting of October 22nd, 2024.
All in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
Building department stats. Brett? You've been busy.
Yeah, it's been steady. I wasn't sure how often you wanted to hear from me, but I figure it's been about 6 months. And it's, I guess, better than expected. At the end of last year, start of this year, I kind of let you know trends from the other CBOs indicated that we were going to have a slower year. Their building permit numbers were down. Talking to hardware store owners, etc., they had stock in and they weren't as busy as they had been. But the numbers are proving us wrong. Like it's so as of the end of July, we'd issued 95 permits, plus 23 for septic systems. In comparison to the year before, 2023, at the same time we were at 79 and 13. So both were up. That's as of the end of July. So I did update it with my notes. Just verbally, what was handed to you was prepared based on the end of June because I had my report done a couple weeks early.
Yeah. no problem.
But yeah, it's continued, so even in the month, we issued 21 permits in July. So basically one a working day. It's been looking like it's going to continue. I still have several that are approved and not paid for, so they won't be in statistics. I have a desk full to still review and get issued out. So I think we're going to be very comparable, if not higher, to what we were last year, which is a good sign. I mean, obviously, it's busy, but that's what we want, right? So, and like I say, the breakdowns, the bigger projects are essentially the same. 2023 was a little different, which throws off our dollar value in that we had some big commercial projects issued, and that 10 unit on Roy Street that's underway this year. So, you know, they were one permit each, but the dollar values kind of skew our numbers. And like I say, even with that, we're comparable this year, so it's a nice sign.
Brett, is the project on Pembroke Street East, the gas station, et cetera, is that in 2023 or 2024 numbers?
The permit was issued in the 23 numbers, so that's another, I mean, that's a multi-million-dollar project
Yes.
on its own, which is really going to skew my dollar values when I compare this year to last year.
Yes.
But like I say, if we treat it as a permit, you know, it's there. And there were some others last year too, like November, December, if I remember correctly, I issued 3 permits for brand new house builds. Obviously that time of year they didn't start, but they wanted the permits issued for various reasons, from increase in development charges to possible increase in building permit fees. They knew they were committed to build, so like I say, they were on 23 numbers, and we may have that again this year, I don't know, but you know, there were some big projects last year that so far we haven't had this year, but.
Okay. Al?
Get lots of questions on that East End development. Do you know when it's going to move to the next stage? It seems to have come to a standstill, and I know I get asked that question every time I'm out.
So for people driving by, it definitely seems like it's a standstill. There's a lot of subsurface work there, as we know from the site plan and everything through zoning, like there was engineering reports, etc. So essentially now all the groundwork is done. The plumbing is in and tested. The last I heard from the site supervisor, they were waiting on the next crew to arrive with the steel and the framing and stuff. And they were hoping after the long weekend. So it should start looking like it's moving again.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else for Brett? Okay, seeing none, thank you.
No problem. Thanks.
We've got a motion?
No.
Okay. Sean, how are you tonight?
I'm well, thank you. Can I steal the screen? Okay, so, oh, that's not where we want to be. Apologies. So just being the time of year, though, this is a little bit dated. This is a budget report from January to June, so 50% of the year. We're already now a month, though, has passed, so these numbers are a bit dated, but has to be a cutoff time at some point. In the attachments, there's a dashboard and a kind of a summary of the budget and then a line by line. So just when you're looking at that, I just describe here what the percentages mean. So, you know, as June 30th represents 50% of the fiscal year, the target, if you were thinking everything, all things being equal, should be about 50%. We know that that's just in theory. You know, there's times of the year like snow plowing is probably going to show more than 50% because we don't snow plow in the summer type thing. But anyway, accounts that have less than 50% of variance means that the line item is ahead of the target amount of 50%, while any line item that has 50% that has more than 50% variance is behind. I know it's a little confusing, but because we're dealing with revenue and expenses, opposites kind of happen. Anyway, you can refer back to that in your reading if you go look through this. But just some high level statistics. So if you're looking at it, it's going to show taxes receivable at 9.81 million, and you may say, well, that is a lot. Well, and it is a lot. It's 9.81 million. But it's skewed because just before the end of June, we did the invoicing, so people hadn't had the chance to pay yet. The due date was today. So, I mean, that's why that number shows. And we try to get the tax invoices out at that time just to give people more chance to get their invoice and understand what they owe and et cetera. Cash on hand, if you compared this budget report to the previous months, it decreased substantially. That is mainly due to the county and school board levies we paid, and then we also had our capital investments, so some big projects where we were spending significant amount of cash came in, like those invoices came in, so our cash balance, decreased quite a bit. I'll just script forward here a little bit into the actual budget variance report, and maybe I'll just go down to this might be a little bit easier for everyone to follow the kind of high level stuff. So this page here summarizes the whole, both all departments and revenue expenses. So to date, we've recognized 29% of our budgeted revenue. So obviously we're well ahead. Again, that's mainly due to the taxes being invoiced out. Fire is showing 84% there. So that means it's behind the, like where we would want it to be at 50%. That is just, there's a little bit of a lag there with our invoicing of insurance companies, but we're working with fire, and in the month of July, we have worked with them to ensure timely invoicing. If I go down here just a little bit, planning and emergency, again, there's small numbers here, but it's slightly lagging in revenue. But I mean, and same with, I think, building at this point in time was lagging, but that's just time of year. I mean, as permits now come in and it's summertime and maybe more's happening, then that's where that will catch up. When we get into expenses,
Sorry.
Are we
just
good, Dean,
I'm
or-
trying to put that on there to see if we can, sorry.
okay, that's okay. I'm getting
Yeah.
all over the map here. But anyway, I'll continue. General government for expenses is it's kind of right where we would expect it to be. When you see fire again here, fire showing a variance of 43%. So it's ahead of where we would probably expect or want it to be. But fire was extremely busy the first, quarter of the year responding to calls. And when we budget for fire, we kind of take an average and our best guesstimate on how many hours they're going to respond. So that's something that is really, I wouldn't be too worried about where it's sitting, or I'm not worried about where it's sitting right now. I mean, when we can't choose when fire calls happen, and when they happen, we have to respond. So that's just the nature of that. Everywhere else here seems fairly in line. Public works, that you may, and that's just 31%. So if you were looking at that just from a high level, you'd say, well, that's well ahead of the 50% variance. However, there's capital, the capital expenditures are captured there. So as Roy Street, their number's not in the budget because it's a previously approved project. It's not in this year's approved budget expenses, but we're capturing those expenses in this calendar year. So that's why it's tracking well ahead of the 50% margin, is just mainly due to those high capital projects that are happening that are significant dollars. In any event, I was surprised, but the bottom line for expenses at June 30th is 50%. So that's I think where, from a high level, where you'd like to be. So I don't think, honestly, in my kind of short experience as a treasurer, that's actually happened. So I was happy with that. I did provide, I'm going to go a little bit further here, just into our capital program, because I think that I won't go through each line item or anything. Sorry, this is a long document, but this capital program I laid out, and I know it's a bit small there, but I've laid out projects that are either approved in 2024's budget, and those are the numbers to the side. If it starts with a 24, that's an approved 24 item. And then there's also projects from previous years that were approved that either are carried over or maybe haven't been completed, but their funds are allocated essentially because those projects are happening. So there's all of the projects that we kind of have going in our capital project or program. And to date, we've invested about 2.7 million in our capital program. So I think just this is something that you may want to, look through. If you have residents and whatnot asking what's happening with some of these projects, you at least see where they're at. I mean, this is a numbers version of where the projects are at. I mean, I'm sure you're going to want to reach out to the managers if you're interested in that, but at least you can see what is kind of happening. And then I provided, now that all the taxes or tax rates are in, I provided where Laurentian Valley is in comparison to the other lower tier municipalities in the county. And as you can see, I've bolded, and our residential rate is the 4th lowest in the county. And I just want to caution, it is something that's great, but it is only one metric, and the tax rate is, there's a lot, and Dean and I have had this conversation, there's a lot more than just the rate, but the rate is what a lot of people want to talk about, and Laurentian Valley is the fourth lowest lower tier municipality. So with that, I'll turn it back to the mayor if there's any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Sean? Brian?
Just have one little question with regards to rec payments. On the end of June, only 2 of the rec associations received payments, and thinking they would have all gone out at the same time, or what? Why is that?
Well, we're issuing them after they've come to council. So when they've came to council and have done their, because I think the way that the policy or one of the that I've read is that the payments are to be issued after kind of financial statements. It seems to be the term. So what Nevada's worked very hard in ensuring that she's reaching out to the groups, and as we've had groups come here, when those have happened, when those were completed, she's done the check requisition, and then we sent, the 2 that came to that council meeting, they went out the next check run. So that's the way we've handled. So because we want to hear from them, I think, is at least my perspective, is you want to hear from them and have them speak and have you hear what programs are doing. So that's how we've handled that this year.
Okay, I'm just looking at the balance of them, we won't be meeting again until the fall. It'll be 3/4 of the year will be passed before they get any.
Yeah, and
I think
now if I ran that report now, there's only maybe 1 or 2 that haven't got their check. So this is, again, it's a lag in when the expense hit the books.
And I think this is a kind of a first year that we've really done this, so maybe next year we'll obviously get them in a little earlier, hopefully, and then they'll be able to get their payments by by June.
Alan?
Just one thing that kind of jumped out at me was the delinquent water and wastewater accounts. Do we have like a reasoning for that? Is this more normal around this time of year? Are we concerned?
I mean, we're rolling in like that 22. I think the 2 metrics I have is like 22% of the properties are delinquent, and then that represents 27% of the budget. I forget the way it's written. June 30th was a due date. So, I mean, I would be more interested in what the July one will look like, because we would have a due date. We would send out reminders, and there are payments that trickle in. But I mean, I think we'll have a trend of that after this due date and see, and then we can kind of monitor that from there.
So could we have a look at that report maybe at the next meeting again? And like, my concern is that this is our first year in the increased water and sewer rates, and I'm just concerned that maybe, that might be part of the issue.
Yeah, and I think once we have an idea of maybe where we're at the end of July and even end of August, we'll have a better understanding if that's an issue. But yeah, we'd like to get that number lower, for like into the single digits would be ideal.
Okay, anything else, Council? Thanks, Sean. Under information, only the library board meeting of May 16th. City of Pembroke monthly animal report. Any questions on that? Seeing none. City of Pembroke requests correspondence Sportsplex Facility Joint Committee. So, everybody has seen the letter. I can tell you that some of that has changed since the letter came to council as far as the number on the committee, right?
Well, no, not necessarily. You asked for it. But
No, I know.
Yeah, we haven't got a permission. We haven't got.
Yeah. So-
maybe you just explain maybe.
So what happens is the city has requested that 3 members be on a committee to look at the future of what's going to happen with recreation, the pool, the whole area as far as we kind of discussed earlier tonight with Darcy Smith, as to what's going to happen in the future. And knowing that the pool, when the Butler building is done, will get another minimum 5 years. Now's the opportunity to move forward and look at what the whole area, as I discussed earlier, requires and affordability-wise. So we did meet with the mayor and CAO last week, Dean and myself, and I proposed that if we're going to go out to the various municipalities, to all the taxpayers, that it should look like we are going out as partners, not financial partners, but the 2 main municipalities moving forward on what we're going to do with recreation, whether it's the pool, the rinks, etc. I said it would be a good starting point to have 3 members from each council, not just 1 from Laurentian Valley. No. So we, as Dean said, I believe Ron, Mr. Gerba, Mayor Gerba understood where you're coming from, and I believe he was going to take that to his council. I would be very surprised if it didn't come back as 3 and 3. But I believe their council has to change their motion or whatever. So we're going to propose, we're going to respond, Dean, if council agrees that we go 3 and 3. And, it's my recommendation from that committee, that we start from the ground up, day 1, and look at, invite other communities, municipalities, stakeholders, and really look at this, as I said earlier, don't leave a rock unturned, and see where we're going to go with this. Who knows where it's going to end up? Is it going to be a board at the end, like the Waste Recovery Center, that governs the recreation? Is all of recreation going to fall into it? I don't know. But I think it's important that we really do a good job and get the right people involved. It's a long-time commitment, probably looking at 5 to 10 years for revenue, fundraising groups. I talked to Megan Conway today, and I know that they're interested in being on the committee, and I think they're a vital part of that committee for fundraising. They would have various grants that possibly municipalities aren't eligible for, but their foundation might be. And just as a side note, she did tell me today that they're at 75,000 of their 200,000 goal with the Friends of the Pool fundraising. And they're doing 50/50s and other events coming up. Anyway, so that's sort of what we talked about with the mayor and CAO. I certainly want to hear your comments on it, and then I'll speak about who's going to be on that committee. Alan and then Keith.
So just wondering about the 60 to 80,000 for an engineer to start preliminary design in a little bit. Is that not like a little bit premature when, as a committee, they have no idea what they even want, but they're going to have somebody start designing it?
Dean, maybe you could help me with this a little bit?
Yeah, I think at this point, I agree with Councillor Ed. I think the idea going in is there'd be no commitment of funds at this point till at least they have a meeting or two and see what's going to be the term. Where's the terms of reference for this committee? Are we just looking at the B3? Are we looking at, a joint board of all municipalities? Are we looking at just an ordinary recreation agreement as we have today, all that stuff needs to be flushed out as terms of reference. And then at that point, when we find that out, then yes, if we need a consultant, obviously it's got to come back to council and we decide. So, though I agree with Councilor Rand, I think I wouldn't be committing any funds tonight. I would suggest that we, make the request if so be it that we want 3 on the committee at this point. And again, not to move forward, the 3 would move forward to a certain point, and then obviously, depending on where they're going, then us as a township has to look what's next. Are we 50-50 partners? Are we satisfied where they're going? Do we walk away? I mean, there's a whole bunch of gamuts, and I don't want to put a negative slant or a positive slant. It's just a matter of right now is committing to say we're doing 3 and 3, and if they have other people that want to sit in the committee, so be it. Whether they put 1 on representation or several other municipalities, depending on what they want to do, but we work through that process, and then by year's end, I would say that maybe in next year's budget, then we should have a mandate for that committee and what those funds are needed at this point for, seed money or review money with a consultant or whatever the case is. So I agree. That's good.
And I think part of those dollars in that motion that was made by, I believe, Brian Abdallah, was money towards the P3 project. So it would be my choice, and I'm sure council's choice as well, that we don't start spending money on something that we haven't looked at all possibilities yet. So I totally agree. Keith?
My concern was the same, and especially looking at the $60,000 to $80,000 by the end of this year. At this time of the year, our budgets have been set. Like, you need to plan and plan well.
And that's why it's going to be a long-term goal. Okay. Any other comments? Council happy to move forward with what we're discussing? Wendy, please.
I like your recommendation of 3 and 3. I just don't think it's fair to only have one person from our township there.
Thank you. Okay.
So right now, I would like to just get consensus that that's the request, because obviously we're not doing it by motion at this point. We're just going to request that we, Laurentian Valley, participate with 3 members. If that's council's wishes, I'll express that through an email back to Mr. Unraw, and it'll go to I guess I would assume to their August 12th council meeting for that decision, whether we're included at that amount. And then based on that, they coming back and saying, yes, we've agreed to 3, then I guess the mayor would decide who's going to sit on those 3, and then we'll set up the first meeting.
With removing the financial.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's no commitment at this point to any fund. Any funds would have to come back to council as they need. If they need money right away for a particular reason, then they'll come back to council and we'll agree to that or not agree.
Okay.
That's-
Everybody's good with that?
Yeah.
Consensus is
Yeah.
good?
Okay.
And I know that Brian and Jennifer are both on rec, so we'll have a chat individually with myself, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Okay, just information on Canada Day festivities. I was there on July 1st. Brought greetings from Laurentian Valley. We'll move down to Fall Flavors sponsorship request.
Okay, as in past, the Allison Fraser Recreation Committee is requesting a sponsorship from Laurentian Valley. I have been in contact with our recreation coordinator with regards to her budget, and she says she does have $1,500 available for sponsorship, but this would be something that council we would request that council agree to. So there's a motion on the floor to provide $1,500 sponsorship to the Fall Flavors Festival event, which is on, I believe, September, I don't have the date
23rd
for
or something?
21st, I think it is, 21st.
Al?
Did we include that in our budget to others?
She said she had that in her sponsorship budget.
I'm assuming she's speaking about her own
Yeah.
budget,
Yeah.
not the grants to others
No,
budget.
correct. Yeah,
We
so-
don't have it in our grant to others?
No, not that I'm aware of, no.
No.
Okay, so we don't need to make a motion then?
Yeah, well, we should.
still do, even though
Well,
it's in the
yeah,
budget?
because we're directing, she's asking for direction, so she's sure that, yeah.
Okay, we'll make a motion. Al and Betty?
Moved by Counselor Wren, second by Counselor King, that to provide the Allison Fraser Recreation Committee a $1,500 sponsorship to assist with the costs associated 2024 Fall Flavors Festival event.
All in favor? Carried.
Should.
Betty?
Just a question, when Alan brought that up, is that something that maybe the Fall Flavors Committee should look into, is making it part of the regular budget, or should just leave it under Nevada's?
Well, I think in this case, and I'll refer to Sean too, but maybe quickly, I mean, Nevada knows in this case, it's not a recreation committee, although it is Allison Fraser, but it's a festival that are having, and they're doing their own sponsorship. To my way to thought, it should, maybe Nevada should look at, you know, she should know these events coming up, and then she would put that in the budget based on where she thinks they need to be. But I don't know, maybe Sean, do you have any comment or any difference to that?
Yeah, I think, so I think when I'm looking at this LV grants to others section, I mean, it's fairly new to me. My thought would be that we would just keep it part of the, because my thought is that probably these grants to others likely should have some communication each year, and whether that means there's an actual granting program at some point where there's applications, I don't know. But I think we'll just, for the time being, leave it where it is.
Alan?
The plan kind of has been over the years to set aside X amount of dollars each year for grants, and when that amount of grant is used up, it's used up. And that's it till the following year. We've talked about that on a number of occasions. We've never actually moved forward with it. I still think that's a good way to do it, that there's an actual budget. And when requests come in, you look at them, and when the money's used up, the money's used up. And we've always said that should be something that we can look at and say, there's an actual return on our investment to the municipalities in some way, shape, or form, and that would tell you why you should grant the grant or not.
We always talked about it, but never seemed to happen.
But that's basically what's happened in this case. I mean, you know, there was a pot of money in that budget under sponsorship, and that's where Nevada is making the recommendation to suggest spending it. I don't know, Sean?
No, and I agree, and I think just to make it fair and equitable would be just because it's first come, first served, because people might come early in the year, is you probably have some sort of policy in place that you 2 intakes. You know, fall intakes, spring, yeah, or X amount of intakes, you know, that way would probably be fair and equitable. But I mean, I think right now, if the question is there money in the budget, there's money in the budget for this particular request.
Okay. Bylaws.
Mover and seconder, please.
Keith? Alan?
Moved by Reeve Watt, second by Councillor Wren, that the following bylaws be enacted and passed and be read a first, second, and third time, and be numbered and signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book this 31st day of July 2024. Bylaw 2024-07043, zoning bylaw amendment Z 2024-06 Kobelecki. Bylaw 2024-07044, zoning bylaw amendment Z 2024-07 Kalish. Bylaw 2024-07045, zoning bylaw Z 2021-05 Webster.
All in favor? Carried. Reeves report, county council comments are there. Keith, anything to add, or?
No. We were no meeting in July at all. We start up again next week with committee meetings and eventually then the county meeting at the end.
Okay. Any questions for Keith? Comments? I know we had an issue on Mud Lake Road from many residents along that area. I know they've addressed it, trying to water it down with the dust. Kind of question why it was done, but I believe you're going to bring that up at the next county council meeting.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Anything else for Keith? Saying none. Council announcements. Announcements, not comments?
Fine line, but yes.
I have one. I attended, as well as Councillor Wren, Councillor King, Councillor Goche, that I saw, Stafford in the Park last Saturday, and I thought it was really well done. Congrats to Tim and the staff. Great turnout. They added pickleball. I'm not sure how that went over. It was pretty warm, but it was a big turnout. Splash pad was jammed. I didn't see you on it though, Al. No.
He was on the slip-in side with the fire department.
Anyways, it's great. We had so many people there. It's just great to see. So hats off to Stafford.
It was neat to go there, and you couldn't get a parking spot anywhere, even on the road.
Yeah, the junior gardener competition was amazing this year. It was huge.
Dean.
Yeah, I want to thank, our staff too. We had the students, and I know Nevada to put in, Chris put some time in there too, as well as I want to acknowledge too the multicultural. I know there was some council members, certainly Councillor Hewitt was there quite a bit for the day because there were responsibilities at the library, but also manning the tent, and we did have some student representation there too, and it was a good turnout too. So I think, hats off to those events that were participating, and see as the community's really endorsing some of these things, so it's kind of nice to see, so.
Jennifer.
Just a note on Saturday, I had to go pick up a few things. Tim Hortons was one of them, and I had a Laurentian Valley t-shirt on. Saturday throughout the day, there was at least 7 people who said to me, "Can I buy that shirt?" So maybe we can, even the prizes, the kids love the prizes, and the backpacks were really cool this year. Maybe we can let Chris explore some merchandise and get it out there that we are going to sell our like I have one t-shirt, Laurentian Valley, that I would love to, I would totally support Laurentian Valley, right, and wear them all the time.
Yeah, he mentioned that to myself and probably Sean as well. I think next year we will try to get some branding for those events for the volunteers at least. And it's a good way, also, we can sell, I'm sure we can do that. But also just to have that, basically that person or representation showing Laurentian Valley doing the work and handing out a t-shirt to them, I think is probably good value to kind of, for our own marketing.
Okay. Anything else? That's it? Wendy?
I just wanted to add one quick note about our summer student that we have. She is a wonderful young lady, and she manned the Laurentian Valley tent at the Multicultural Festival very well, and she was very good at interacting with people. So I just wanted to thank her. Yeah, I just wanted to thank our summer student. She's amazing.
I know Dee mentioned earlier about it, but it was a great turnout again, Wendy, the event.
It was a very good turnout. Unfortunately, right around supper hour, when they were expecting the biggest crowd, we had a lot of rain. So that probably did diminish the crowd a little bit, but overall, there was a lot of people there.
Plinko was a huge success.
Plinko again.
Plinko was a huge success.
We're getting a lot of traction out of Bob Barker and his Plinko board.
Okay, motion to go in close?
Yes, please. Mover and a seconder, please.
Wendy and Betty?
Moved by Councillor Hewitt, second by Councillor King, that the special council meeting of July 31st, 2024 move into closed session at 6:55, chaired by Mayor Bennett according to the Ontario Municipal Act, Section 239.2, Section 239.3, Section 239.3.1, in order to address a matter pertaining to personal matters about identifiable individuals, including municipal or local board employees, and a proposed or pending acquisition and disposition of land by the municipality or local board.
All in favor? Okay, we'll take
5.
Take 5. Okay, welcome back to council.
Move back out of closed.
Move out of closed, Steve. Alan and Jennifer.
Moved by Councillor Wren, second by Councillor Gauthier, that the special council meeting of July 31st, 2024, move back into open session at 7:40.
All in favor? Carried.
I'll take those three. No, that's closed, that's all in there. Okay, the first one, we do have two motions to, coming out of closed. So can I get a mover for the corporate position on acquisition of lands?
Betty and Brian.
Moved by Councillor King, second by Councillor Ugly, that the Council of Township of Laurentian Valley direct staff to enter into negotiation with specific property owner as discussed in closed session for the purpose of acquiring specific property as discussed in closed session in conjunction with the City of Pembroke.
All in favor? Carried.
Okay, and the other one, mover and a seconder.
Jennifer and Wendy.
Moved by Councillor Gauthier, second by Councillor Hewitt, that the doctor recruitment process being extremely competitive and crucial to the well-being of our residents, council agreed to provide a financial incentive in the amount of $6,000 to a married couple, doctor couple considered locating in our community through the West Champlain Family Health Team.
All in favor? Carried.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned. Wendy and Alan.
Moved by Councillor Hewitt, second by Councillor Wren, that the special council meeting of July 31st, 2024 be adjourned at 7:40.
All in favor? Carried.